Have you ever really thought about how a single speech can literally change the world? Well, today we're diving into one of the most powerful speeches ever made. In just 6 minutes, President Franklin D. Roosevelt did more than just report an attack. He united a nation and steered it straight into war. Let's break down how he pulled it off. It all starts right here, with this one line, a line that instantly burned a date into history forever. You see, Roosevelt doesn't just give a date, he gives it a title. By calling it a date which will live in infamy, he immediately tells every American that this isn't just bad news, this is a historical crime that we can never ever forget. So after branding the day in everyone's mind, Roosevelt gets right down to business. He acts like a prosecutor, laying out the cold hard facts for the jury, which, in this case, was the entire country. He keeps it incredibly simple. Who did this? What did they do? And how they did it? And just listen to the words he picks. Suddenly and deliberately. Suddenly captures that shock, that feeling everyone had of being caught completely off guard. But deliberately, man, that's the word that does all the work. It says this wasn't some mistake. Nope. This was a planned, calculated, intentional hit on a nation that thought it was at peace. But see, it wasn't just about the attack itself. FDR's next move is to paint a picture of just pure betrayal. To get a country that desperately wanted to stay out of the war on board, he had to show that this was an act of incredible deception. That's the part that would really, truly make people angry.
So FDR creates this jaw-dropping contrast. On the one hand, he reminds everybody that, hey, we were talking with Japan. We were actively trying to negotiate for peace. But on the other hand, while those talks were happening, this attack had been in the works for weeks. It's just a masterful way to show absolute treachery.
And the deception just went even deeper than that. FDR points out that literally while bombs were falling on American soil, Japanese diplomats were handing over a formal reply in Washington, D.C. He frames this as the ultimate insult, using the cover of diplomacy to get the maximum element of surprise. Next, Roosevelt zooms the camera out. He's got to show that Pearl Harbor wasn't just some one-off event. No, it was just the opening shot in a much, much bigger conflict. And then he hits the audience with this rapid-fire list. Malaya, Hong Kong, Guam, the Philippines, Wake Island, Midway. All of a sudden, this isn't just about a naval base anymore. This is a surprise offensive that's happening all across the Pacific. He makes the threat feel huge, like it's everywhere, all at once. And this brings us to the emotional heart of the speech. Roosevelt gets that the country is in pain, that they're scared, but instead of letting people sit with that fear, he does something amazing. He basically takes that grief and forges it into pure, unbreakable resolve. First, he just acknowledges the pain. It's a simple, direct statement about the human cost. He's not just a president reading a report. He's speaking as a fellow American, sharing in that grief. And that connection is absolutely vital. And then, in the very next breath, he pivots. The language does a complete 180. He talks about righteous might and absolute victory. He isn't just saying, we'll fight back. He's declaring that our victory is morally right and totally inevitable. It's a shot of pure confidence to a nation that was reeling. So he's laid out the facts, he's exposed the betrayal, he's rallied the country's spirit. Now, and only now that he's done all that, does he finally get to the whole point of the speech, asking Congress to declare war. And just look at how he builds this final argument. It's a logical, step-by-step conclusion. By the time he actually asks for a declaration of war, he's made it feel like there isn't even a choice. It's the only possible response left on the table. And here it is, the final masterstroke. He doesn't ask Congress to start a war. He asks them to officially recognize that a state of war has existed ever since the attack happened. It's brilliant. He's not positioning America as the one starting the fight. He's just asking Congress to formally acknowledge the reality that Japan already forced on them. So what's the big takeaway here? FDR's speech is the ultimate proof that words aren't just passive things. They don't just describe the world. They can actively change it. In a moment of absolute crisis, a clear, powerful story can unite an entire nation and change the course of human history. It's a timeless lesson on the power of words. And it's why, all these years later, we still remember that date which will live in infamy.